Thanks very much, guys. You can catch more videos at the end of the channel here, and I'll leave my link to my website in the description below as well. You guys are the best. Thank you for watching. My name is... The hell is that? What the hell is that? Alien Romulus is the seventh installment in the Alien franchise, ninth depending on how you look at it. If you count the two Alien vs. Predator movies, this one is not directed by Ridley Scott, and is instead directed by Fede Alvarez, who directed Don't Breathe in the 2013 Evil Dead remake. And this is not a sequel to Prometheus or Alien Covenant. This does not cap off the Alien prequel trilogy. This is actually an interquel taking place between the events of Alien and Aliens. While scavenging the deep ends of a derelict space station, a group of young space colonizers come face to face with the most terrifying life form in the universe. I'm pretty much a casual fan of Alien. I think that these movies are very influential. I love Alien, I love Aliens, but Alien 3 doesn't really do it for me. I absolutely despise Alien Resurrection. Prometheus is okay, and despite being somewhat messy because it ties into Prometheus, but it's also trying to do its own thing, I think Alien Covenant's the best since Aliens, but that's all changed with Alien Romulus. While Alien Romulus may feel like a big budget fan made film, there's definitely a clear love and passion by Fede Alvarez for those first two movies. Alien Romulus does a great job of meshing the sci fi horror of Alien with the sci fi action of Aliens. He does a great job at crafting atmosphere and tension, something that I think he's always done very, very well in his movies. Things like that made Don't Breathe so terrifying when it really has a premise that doesn't really scream terrifying to you. Alvarez uses a lot of practical effects in this movie, and to the movie's benefit. I love it when filmmakers can use practical effects to make everything look, because if you would think that it's not practical, and the crazy thing is that there are so many sets, so many practical effects in this movie that you just can't believe your eyes at what you're watching. Every dollar of that budget, most of it at least, you could tell was spent towards the love and care and passion of all of that. Using a practical xenomorph just made the xenomorph a lot more scary in my eyes in this movie, and using practical face huggers, because there are a lot of face huggers in this movie. I saw it firsthand at San Diego Comic-Con when they were using practical face huggers to get around Hall H. That shit was terrifying, and it's even more terrifying in the movie. And when it harkens back to what made Alien so great, the sci-fi horror, it really rattled my skin. There are some really grotesque images in here. I don't think it's as grotesque or gnarly as everyone's saying it is, but there are some things in here where it's just like, oh, that's kind of disgusting. You know, maybe I might have to turn my head away a little bit and just not look at that image because I don't want to see that ever again. There's a lot of body horror in this movie, just things you don't want to think of when it comes to your body and how your body moves if you're being manipulated by a creature like this. Kind of some scary shit. The whole movie has a sense of unease and unsettlement to it. A lot of this is due to the sound design. Just certain things like hearing a creak in the hallway or a crackle here, just thinking that there's gonna be something that pops up and it never does. They fool you a lot with the sound design in this movie, and it's impeccable. It is so good. And it's so awesome when all the big moments hit. I think Fede Alvarez is the perfect director to helm a movie like this, coming from a horror background, meshing the horror aspects with the action aspects. I think he does a really good job here. Some may be disappointed with this movie because Fede Alvarez does play it safe. As I said, it feels a bit like a fan film. It feels a bit like a high budget fan film, and therefore it feels like it's safe. There are homages and references and callbacks to the original 1979 film and 86 film as well, but it was never anything that got under my skin. It was never anything that like went over my head where I was just like, okay, stop it now. I'm a fan, service me. That's what I always say. I don't care about fan service. Like, people take this shit way too seriously, and I just don't get why. The movie doesn't have anything thematic to say. It's more about trying to scare you, trying to get you pumped up for the next big action set piece, and that's essentially what this movie is. If you are looking for something on the philosophical side, side that Prometheus had to offer, or parts of Alien Covenant had to offer, you're going to be massively disappointed. And you're going to be massively disappointed that it doesn't really have all that much to say thematically in any other sense either. Unlike the other films, even the worst ones kind of build on themes that were brought up in previous films, and they kind of go from there. This one's just a kind of flat play it safe, but I think that that really works in its favor. It just makes it so much more simple. It being simple actually makes it feel a bit more fresh in terms of the franchise, because we haven't really seen anything like this for quite some time. And the fact that it is probably the best that we have seen from the Alien franchise since Aliens, that's saying something. It's definitely a welcome sight for a franchise that many felt was on its last legs. The last act definitely takes some wild swings. There have been people saying this online. That is definitely true. I agree. Do all of them work? Up for debate. It'll work for some, but it won't work for others. But there's a really cool set piece towards the end of this movie involving gravity and anti-gravity that I thought was probably the best sequence in the entire movie. I could have watched 2 hours of that. But I do have some issues with Alien Romulus. One being there is a CGI element that is a running thing throughout this movie. It's not just one scene and it's not just a blink and you'll miss it type of thing. It is actually something that blockbusters have been doing recently that I don't feel like that they should do. And this is actually something that really brings the movie down quite a bit from being a great, fantastic movie to just a really, really good movie. This is the main crux of my issues with this movie, and it's the CGI element that just feels like it should have just maybe been a flash and you blink and you miss it type of thing, but instead it overstays its welcome. It has way too much staying power, and it actually hinders the movie in the long run, because that's when you feel like the fan service is getting a little bit too on the nose, you know what I mean? So I can understand the fan service aspect from that thing. I just didn't like what they did with it. But I am a fan, service me. It's never gonna bother me, but that thing did. And it wasn't because it was fan service. It was just because the CGI looked so hokey and uncanny that it looked too fake compared to all the other practical effects that we were seeing on screen. Also, my other issue with this movie is the writing of the characters. I felt all the characters, except for maybe Andy and Rain, to be bland and boring as hell. I didn't care about a single one of them. Even with Rain and Andy, the movie's trying to get me to care about them so much that those two are definitely the most fleshed out, but I still didn't find myself caring all that much for them. The other crew members, who gives a shit, honestly? They're just there to be expendable trash. They're just there to have xenomorphs kill them, and that's exactly what happens. It got to a point in the movie where I wanted the xenomorph to win. When you have characters where you're rooting for the main antagonist of the movie to win, that's not a good thing. So I do think that those two issues plague the movie quite a bit. They bring it down from being a fantastic movie to just a really good movie, but don't take that as like it's the be all end all of Alien Romulus. I still had a really good time with Alien Romulus. I think it's got some really good practical effects. I think it really meshes the tone of Alien and Aliens really well with the horror and the action. It's also very well shot. It's something I didn't mention. It is a beautiful movie to look at. The acting is top notch, and I love its use of practical effects and its sound design, but it's just the CGI elements and the characters really bring this movie down to not a screeching halt, but it feels like something is just loose in the valve. You know, making up all these different terminologies that nobody's probably ever heard of, but it just felt like something was a little loose and it needed to be fixed a little bit. Those are my two main issues with this movie. I still enjoyed Romulus a lot, and I think it is the best in the franchise since Aliens, and I really enjoyed Alien Romulus with a full bucket of popcorn. So if you guys have seen Alien Romulus, let me know what you think of it in the comments section below. I'll leave my link to my website in the description below as well. You guys are the best. Thank you for watching. My name is Alex Madden, and I will see you at the movies somewhere.